morning, all of you. We'll continue our discussion on DCCN now. In the previous sessions, we are done with the basic differences between circuit switching and packet switching and all. And today's session, we'll try to complete unit number 1 and switch over to unit 2. Okay, so unit number 1, we are left over with the last topic that is called X.25. So once this question has been asked in the exam that write short notes on any two of the following, like SMTP, X.25 and UDP. What is SMTP? It is switch in mode power supply, switch in mode, simple mail transfer protocol. SMTP is known as simple mail transfer protocol. X.25 is a connection oriented type of the network, and the UDP is a transport protocol called as user datagram protocol. So this X.25 is mentioned in unit number 1 in our syllabus, and this UDP is mentioned in the unit called as transport layer, and this SMTP is unit number 1. So these three questions has been asked once in the exam. So we'll try to go through this particular X.25 thing over here. Okay. Yeah. So X.25 is a very old network which has been coming to the market before the OSI model. So therefore, X.25 is normally used for connection oriented type of the services. So after the advent of TCP/IP, no one is using nowadays X.25 network type. So therefore, this X.25 has simply become like a legacy network protocol layer. Okay, so therefore, X.25 is somewhat a old version of the protocol, packet switched protocol layer, right? So anyway, as it is in the syllabus, we are going to discuss about this. So X.25 is a name given to a protocol suite used for the packet switched wide area type of the network communications. So it is meant for wide area network communications. So you know what is wide area? It is normally meant for communication between two different countries. Is what called a wide area type of a network. So it is going to be communication for huge network types, which involves many complexities. Now defined by the International Telegraph and Telephone Consultative Committee in 1976. So this X.25 had an original purpose of carrying the voice signals over the analog telephone lines. So before this 76 or 75, we were used to have a voice communications, especially because those days there is no VLSI technology, there is no advanced digital communication techniques been implemented. So therefore, we have only a voice-based communications, especially on a telephone lines. So therefore, one has to use telephone lines only to communicate or to transfer the signal from one computer to the another computer. So those days, X.25 was really a popular kind of a network switching technique using which we transfer data from one end to another end. So X.25, as I said, is the oldest packet switching technique available and was commonly used before the OSI reference model came as a standard. Now, originally developed for use in 1970s and was widely used in 1980s. It has came in force in 1976, and people started using this from 1980s. So most of the time, the companies are going to use this X.25 protocol to communicate their internal communications from one computer to another computer. So X.25 has fallen out of favor, having been replaced by less complex protocols such as Internet Protocol. So here what happens is this X.25 has since fallen out of favor, having been replaced by less complex protocols such as Internet Protocol. So after the advent of Internet Protocol, people are using only the TCP/IP than the X.25 because of the simplicity of TCP/IP over the X.25 protocol. So today it is normally it is mostly relegated to ATMs and credit card verification networks. So nowadays we are still using this in ATM network communications and credit card verification network communications. So other than that, most of the companies are really preferring the TCP/IP protocol because it is very simple and the installation is going to be pretty easy than the X.25 type of the networks. Therefore, most of the companies are preferring TCP/IP than X.25 in today's market. So therefore, the applications what we can write today, X.25 applications is going to be ATMs and credit card verification networks you can write in the exam. The X.25 protocols work at the three layers known as the first layer, physical layer, second layer, data link layer, and third layer is going to be the network layer. So at these three layers, the protocols are going to work at these three layers. Okay. So therefore, each X.25 packet contains 128 bytes of data. The protocols themselves cover tasks such as packet assemblies. So here what happens is the network layer is going to release packet, data link layer is going to release frames, and these frames are simply converted into the symbols or bits by the physical layer. So therefore here three layers are involved in the X.25. Therefore this particular layer is going to involve in the operations provided by these three layers, of course. So therefore this packet assembly is done at the network layer for X.25 network communication at the source, and delivery of packets for the intermediate nodes between the two computers called as source and destination computers, and disassembly at the destination. So you have to disassemble the packet at the destination computer. Then error checking has to be done at the destination computer about the data which has been received by the destination computer, and retransmission of the packet in case of errors identified as the destination computer. So finally, what we can say, this X.25 devices fall into three common categories. So what are the devices which are there in the network which incorporates X.25 is going to be called as packet switching exchange, data circuit terminating equipment, DCTE equipment, or DTE, data terminal equipment. So we normally use DCE, DTE, DCE, DTE. These are the terminals where we use the X.25 networks. So what is the basic architecture of an X.25 network? Our basic communication model of X.25 network, it is going to be something like this. An X.25 network provides a means by which one X.25 terminal called DTE, okay, data terminal equipment, are called as a terminal or a host of some kind, can exchange data with one or more other X.25 host computers. So it can exchange data from one or more host computers on another side of the network. So you're going to have DTE at the source, you're going to have DTE host at the destination or a remote host at a far away place, and you're going to have DCE, data communication equipment, kind of a modem kind of a service provided by these two, and these two are connected to the X.25 network only, unlike TCP/IP. So TCP/IP is meant for network of networks, whereas X.25 is meant for only X.25 network only. This is what one of the biggest change between TCP/IP and the X.25. So X.25 protocol is meant for X.25 network only, whereas TCP/IP is not meant for just one type of network. It is meant for many types of networks. Therefore, TCP/IP is normally used for more complex networks than the X.25 type of the network. Anyway, X.25 is the older version that definitely does not support many features as it is supported by the TCP/IP protocol, of course. So therefore, the data is carried out. The data is carried within individual packets. X.25 is often referred to as a packet switching protocol. So it is basically referred to as a packet switching protocol. So we further discuss about the packet switching network, packet switching methodology when we really come to the transport layer. Okay, so till then we just refer this as a packet switching. So we discuss in detail about packet switching when we normally discuss about the transport layer protocol. So this makes it similar to the TCP/IP network. So because of this packet switching, TCP/IP is also going to provide packet switching network protocols. Therefore, it is somewhat similar to the TCP/IP in that particular sense. The difference is that the IP networks employ, this is what I was talking to you, the difference between the TCP/IP and the X.25 is that the Internet Protocol networks employ a connectionless protocol in TCP/IP. In TCP/IP, it provides basically connectionless protocol where each packet is routed according to the information within that packet, typically using the destination address. So the every packet is normally going to get routed to destination by different routes. In the case of the connection less type of the protocol, there is no physical connection established between source and destination in TCP/IP protocol. Therefore, we call it as a connection less type of the protocol. That is a very important topic under discussion. Then, by contrast, X.25 is a connection oriented protocol where the routing information used by the network is carried only in the packets used to establish a connection. See here, the routing information is normally used by the network is carried out only in the packets used to establish a connection. So here once the first packet contains the routing information, once the routing is established, then it becomes a connection oriented type of the network. Thereafter addressing information is not required because connection is going to be like a dedicated kind of a connection, a fixed connection for that transaction is concerned. So that means here once software connection is made between source and destination, it is going to be like a physical connection, it is going to be like a dedicated connection, it's going to be like a fixed connection. Then the data is normally going to get transferred from source to destination very fast. Now it is not going to be a dedicated kind of a thing. It can be changed or varied based on the context. But once the connection is established, the communication is normally going to happen with that particular link only. There cannot be another link provided once after a connection link is provided between source and destination in the case of the X.25 type of the networks. So this does however mean that X.25 network switching nodes need to be aware of each connection, unlike IP protocols. That means it need not really remember about every router address in the connections. So that means here in the X.25 network, the first packet whatever is released is going to figure out the uh, connection, a proper connection between source and destination. Once the connection is established between these two, after figuring out the appropriate routers to be used in between the two computers like source and destination, then the network is established. After network is established, connection is made. After connection is made, the data is normally getting transferred from source to the destination computer. That is what the thing. Now after the communication got over, then the connections are going to get released. Then later on, if at all the source computer, some other source computer want to communicate to some other destination computer, it may use different routes. It may have a different establishment of the connections using the routers. So that's how the thing is, that it need not aware of each and every router. So it is dynamically the switching is going to get taken place, and dynamically the connection is normally going to get established, and after connection get established, it works like a dedicated connection. So once the connection is established, so once the data is getting transferred, in between you cannot change this connection to another connection. That is what the problem with the X.25 network. So what is the advantage here? This does however mean that X.25 network switching nodes need be aware of each connection. So it need not aware of each and every connection in that particular process. That is what the advantage which we are going to have. The connection is established dynamically, but once after dynamic establishment of connection, that connection is fixed for that particular entire communication between the source and destination computers. That is what there in X.25 type of the network. Okay. Let us think in terms of, let us compare X.25 and TCP/IP in terms of protocols. So they are normally programmed at physical layer, data link layer, and network layer. So as I was talking to you, the physical layer is not a protocol; it is a layer which provides some functionalities. All the layers are going to provide the functionalities. Now, how do we provide functionality? By using the protocols, we provide the functionality. So X.25 is going to have a protocols like V V24, X.21, V.35 are the various protocols used at the physical layer to communicate. In TCP/IP, we use same as X.25. All these protocols can be used. So apart from this, we're going to use Ethernet protocols. Apart from this, we're going to use cable connection kind of protocols, and others not normally used by X.25. Too many are used by the TCP/IP protocols. That means it supports many other technologies as far as physical layer connection is considered. So that means many other some more extensions are provided in TCP/IP for physical layer connections. And data link layer, so we are discussing about data link layer as a X.25. So therefore X.25 supports these, therefore we're discussing about all these things. So data link layer is going to support LAB type of network. We discussed LAB in the last unit. So then many such protocols are used by TCP/IP called as point-to-point protocol type, Cisco SDLC protocol, and etc. And even X.25 itself is normally used in the protocol. The protocol used in X.25 can be used in TCP/IP as well, because TCP/IP is going to support many other types of the networks. That means TCP/IP support X.25 network also, whereas X.25 does not support TCP/IP. But reverse is true. TCP/IP supports X.25 network. A network layer protocol is going to be X.25 PLP protocol, and TCP/IP is going to use the Internet Protocol address. And one more layer is going to be the transport layer, where X.25 does not support transport layer, whereas TCP/IP is going to support transport layer. So it's normally going to provide the transport layer functionalities by using the TCP/IP and UDP protocols. So these are the comparisons between X.25 and the TCP/IP. So because of the extensive applications or extensive utilizations of TCP/IP than X.25, so nowadays TCP/IP is most preferred data communication protocol between the two computers in the practical situations. Okay. Now we switch over to unit number 2, which is nothing but which is going to explain about the data link layer. The data link layer is going to be the second layer when you adopt a bottom-up approach. So this OSI is going to adopt the bottom-up approach. Therefore, the layer numbers have been given from bottom layer to the top layer. Okay. But whenever a communication is going to start from source to destination, the layering is normally the layering implementation is going to start from the application layer, because we have to send some application through a network. That application uh, has to be processed via all these networks until the physical layer. Then the physical layer is simply physical layer of our computer simply connected to the appropriate network connection. Then that is being transmitted through the network through by the intermediate layers and reaches to the destination. And reverse is going to happen. Reverse is going to get happen as a destination. So destination we're going to start with the physical layer, then data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation, application layer. Like this, the data is normally going to get transferred. That means, say for example, if a source computer is transmitting a data or email or any file is being transmitted from source to the destination computer. So for example, we are transmitting an email from source computer to destination computer. Then how the data is being transmitted? First of all, the application layer is normally going to get access to the email server called SMTP protocol. Using SMTP protocol, your message is being transmitted to the presentation layer and to the application layer and to the transport layer and to the network layer and to the data link layer and to the physical layer, and after physical layer it is placed onto the network, appropriate network. Say for example, in our house we are going to have, say imagine that we are going to have a modem or we are going to have a set-top box. So what happens now, from our computer my message is simply being transmitted via the wireless connection, wireless connection to the modem. So this modem is going to receive the wireless signal using RF technology, and that modem is normally going to receive this data, say email data, using SSB protocol, and that is being simply connected to the ISP service provider. From ISP service provider, it is connected to the internet. So in that process of communicating an email from source computer to destination computer, your data after being conversions after physical layer into destination layer, the first layer that encounters in the source destination computer is going to be the physical layer. So it takes the data from the physical layer and converts this physical layer data into frames, and these frames are given into the data link layer. Data link layer. Data link layer understands frames and converts them into the packets, and they'll be understood by the data network layer. Network layer is going to convert this data into data suitable for transport layer, and transport layer simply gives this to session layer. Session layer gives this data to the presentation layer, and it is normally given to the application layer. And finally, at the destination computer is going to open his email using a SMTP protocol again. So thereby your email is normally going to get sorry is going to get transferred from source computer to the destination computer. This is how the communication is going to take place. Now in this process, we are going to deal with various types of the layers. Second unit contains the data link layer. So what is the functionality of data link layer? Data link layer normally used to provide end-to-end communication. So data link layer is responsible to provide see all these layers, like data link layer, network layer, transport layer, are normally used to provide end-to-end communication, normally used to provide end-to-end communication, but every layer is going to add some information. Say for example, the data is coming from let us forget about presentation and session layer. The data is coming from application layer to transport layer. So transport layer is going to perform some operations on this and gives the data, that means to the network layer. Network layer is going to transmit the packet to the data link layer. Data link layer is going to convert these into frames and give those frames to the physical layer. Physical layer converts those frames into the bits or symbols so that it can be transmitted via the physical link. So what is important is that here, whenever we discuss about the theoretical concepts, whenever we say frames, that means we are talking at the network layer. Whenever you're talking about frames, whenever you're talking about packets, you're talking about the network layer. Whenever you're talking about the frames, you're talking at the data link layer. Whenever you're talking about the bits, you're talking about the physical layer. Okay, so these are the distinctions using which we can say at which layer you are simply working. So in which layer you are in, and with respect to which layer you're really making your discussion. That depends on the that depends on the nomenclature, or that depends on the name that you're normally going to spell about the data. So if data is normally spoke in terms of packets, you're talking regarding network layer. If data is normally spelled in terms of frames, you're talking regarding the network layer. If data is being spelled in terms of the UDP and TCP, you're talking regarding the transport layer. So these are the various distinctions using which we're normally going to figure out what is that which is going to happen. So especially what we'll do in data link layer, so next unit is going to be data link layer. Data link layer, after it receives the packet from network layer, it is going to generate frames. Now this frame contains the source MAC address, destination MAC address, and the frame coming from the network layer. So these are the extra information added by the data link layer. So it is also going to responsible for the reliable end-to-end communication by mentioning the unique MAC address of the source and unique MAC address of the destination computers. So this is going to add a unique MAC address of the source computer and the destination computer. So this is what the extra thing which is been added here by data link layer for effective communication between source computer and the destination computer. Okay. So in next class, we discuss more in detail about the data link layer. Thank you very much for the today's session.